Welcome back to my devlog on the road to making a standalone VR game. In this episode, I'll show off more advanced movement and behavior systems that I've been working on. My devlogs are usually showing things from like half a year ago, so I have a constant supply of new stuff to show each month. But you'll notice something that I've got working very recently. I'm no longer just floating hands anymore. I have a body. This is my personal avatar that I made and have been using since 2021 on apps like VR Chat. So it feels good to be walking around as this character again. Using the Unity plugin Final IK, it was very straightforward to get the model working and some adjustments to settings to make it feel right when in VR. It's still a very early prototype, so there might be some noticeable issues in these recordings with how the arms bend at extreme angles, although I'm quite happy with how the wrists and arms already behave. When starting out in this game dev process, I was expecting a full body player model to be out of reach and I'd be stuck with floating hands. So this was a really nice win at such an early point in the dev process. With that out of the way, the main focus of this episode is a continuation of the last one: nav mesh systems and NPC behavior. Last episode I showed off early prototypes for how an enemy could detect sound. Next, I wanted to learn how to give characters eyesight so they can detect the player or anything I choose. Getting a basic version of this was easier than I expected with the use of raycasting, but it had one glaring issue. I could crouch underneath the raycast and get by undetected. My solution for this was to have it scan between a minimum and maximum height, and this worked great and was pretty accurate for what I wanted, which is a simple vision cone system to allow enemies to spot the player and enter combat. Compared to past works where I just had the entire room trigger the combat as you enter, I can now offer players a choice of sneaking past enemies without initiating combat or even allowing stealth attacks to deal extra damage before combat begins. Another system that I wanted to make was a way to store all possible actions that a character or enemy can make. Assign weights to each action that changes based on different factors, and then select an action at random when a new decision is called. The weights would control the probability of these actions, and these would be altered by several external factors such as what action the enemy last took, or what action the player is currently taking, the distance from the player, its remaining health, and more. I made this early prototype where I could see what action is picked when clicking a button, whilst also seeing how the weights affected each available action. Now that I had a bunch of different isolated behavior systems, it was time to start merging them on a single character that would serve as the first enemy prototype. A more evolved Bob was needed, long hair Bob. I created a bunch of new animations for him with the intention to have him eventually fighting the player, so the animations were done with that in mind. I animated normal movement, strafing, dodging, and a range of different attacks. Picking random destinations and walking or running to it based on the distance was easy enough since I had that logic already running on other characters. The biggest challenge I face now in terms of movement was to have him strafe around the player while remaining locked on. This one was a trickier process to get right, but I ended up splitting the movement and the rotation into completely separate systems. In this new separate rotation system, I had 3 modes. The first one looks in the direction of the current movement. So depending on the direction that the character is currently running, they will look in that direction. The second mode was a lock-on mode, so it'll always look at a specific target no matter where it's moving. So this is great for if it wants to target the player and needs to move side to side. The third mode disables rotation entirely and locks it in place. This last one is great for actions such as attacks where I want to lock the enemy in place during it, so it doesn't spin mid-swing to hit you if you happen to dodge to the side. The video seeing here is the first recording I made of the regular and strafe mode working, and I was quite happy with how it is coming along here. Next on our list was to start building its actual decision making and behavior. I created a state machine that handles idle, battle, and death states. Within each state, I gave it substates that handle more specific types of behavior. For example, in the idle state, I added a substate specifically for player detection. So it can spot the player briefly, but if it loses the line of sight, it will then investigate the area that it last saw the player. I hooked my vision cone detection and the action weight systems to these substates. The action weight system evolved further here since I had an actual working character to test it with now. The system is a lot more complex with different subsystems contributing to it. I'll go in more detail on this in the future devlog since it's potentially a bigger topic that I can talk about. Since we're focusing mainly on the movement of the enemy, all you need to know is that I could now trigger the enemy into battle mode by getting spotted by it, after which it would choose movement options at random that were influenced by different factors and conditions. No more obvious attack patterns, which is something I want to move away from in order to create more engaging battles. Getting the character to dodge side to side was another level of complexity to the movement system since I had to make sure it didn't target areas behind an obstacle. Instead, the dodge detects nearby obstacles and will move towards it and stop there, without trying to find a new path to a target out of reach. That should cover most of the advanced movement that I implemented with long hair, and next month I'll show the attacks and go over the action system more. So thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying my journey so far, please leave a comment, like, and hit the subscribe button. Bullet Time Agent is coming to Steam and Meta Store later this year. Two of my close friends over at Sci-Fi Studios are handling the port to both pcvr and Quest. It'll also support desktop play as well. Please show some love and support by giving that game a wishlist on Steam. Link is in the description, and it'll help a lot with giving the game visibility as it gets close to launch.